Bust of Julius Caesar. This bust was made in the modern period by a workshop in northern Italy, as suggested by the use of red limestone from the courtyard area, mainly employed in the northeastern area of the peninsula. Bust of Matilda. The ancient head of a woman of matronly appearance is inserted onto a later bust added during restoration. The woman portrayed is identified as Matilda, niece of the Emperor Trajan and the mother-in-law of Hadrian. Bust of Demosthenes. The portrait of the orator, dating to the 2nd century AD, is modeled on the bronze statue Demosthenes in the Asian Agora by the sculptor Polykeltos. Bust of Prince. The individual portrait is difficult to identify, but the large size of the sculpture suggests an official image of a member of the imperial family. Bust of Marcus Aurelius. The bronze head is a 17th century copy based on the famous equestrian statue of Marcus Aurelius in the Capitoline, inserted onto an ancient bust in red porphyry of the first half of the 4th century AD, also added during modern restoration work. Bust of Antinous. The sculpture is composed of an ancient fragment, the bust and the left and the back part of the head, restored in the modern periods as Antinous, the young Benizian favorite of the Emperor Hadrian, who died in AD 130 and was subsequently deified. These finds from excavations in the northwestern sector of the palace are evidence of historical phases of the city block from the Roman period to the Renaissance. They include artifacts found in the context of 4th to 5th century, a lamp, and other stuff. Herm of Discubulus. The athletic body of Discubulus is captured just as he lifts the discus high above his left shoulder. The sculpture is based on modern rigid arcade model, the bronze statue by the sculptor Pythagoras. Herm of Hercules. Hercules is identified in this herm by his characteristic attributes. The lion skin covers his head and shoulders, the cob and the fruits. Statue of Cnidian Aphrodite. The statue type depicting the goddess Aphrodite as she lives her best derives from the original made by Praxiteles in the 4th century BC of her temple in the Greek island of Knidos. The image is naked woman attempting to cover herself with a gesture of modesty was extremely popular and widespread during the Roman period. Statue of Demeter. The sculpture, dated to the 2nd century AD, is thought to be based on Greek origin of the late 5th century BC, given characteristics of the clothing. Statue of Maynard. The statue, originally placed in the niche as suggested by the row of working on the back, portrays a young woman dressed in fine glitter. Portrait of the Emperor Gallienus. Portrait of the Emperor Lucius Vius. Colossal group with Dionysus and a statue. At the center of the group is Dionysus, portrayed in the accordance with idealized Apollonian beauty. The church, dedicated to the Blessed Virgin of Clemency and Pope Saint Anicetus, was built to house the remains of Saint Anicetus, which has been found along with a Appian Way in 1603 and then donated to the Altemps by the Pope. A standing male figure is represented in the act of stabbing his neck with a short sword while supporting his left hand, and a dying woman who forward his side. The two figures easily identified by the long curly hair as Celtic arms. Gauls, a Celtic people of Asia Minor, has linked to the famous sculpture The Dying Gaul. The two sculptures are found in Caesar's villa. It probably suggests that they belong to a symbolic copy who commissioned by Caesar in memory of his victories over the Celtic people. The sculpture has been interpreted as various times as Sleeping Fury or Medusa. There are two sarcophagus in the Ludwig collection with the representations of battle scenes. The great Ludwig sarcophagus displayed in the Grand Hall of the Ludwig Gaul, and this one, the small Ludwig sarcophagus with a frontal relief depicting a scene of battle between Romans and the barbarians between two winged victories, one on each corner, standing on two nude, crouching prisoners. This sarcophagus entered the Ludwig collection shortly after its discovery in 1621, near the Porta Tiburtina, Rome, as a gift to the Capitulate of Santa Maria of the Cardinal Ludovico Ludwig. Battle scenes are chiseled at the front and on the two short sides. The frontal decoration is organized on 3 levels. The victorious Roman are depicted near the top, together with the deceased dressed as a general. To the center commission of the battle between Romans and barbarians. At the bottom, the defeated barbarians are lying on the ground. The work is example of a battle sarcophagus, a quite common production of mid-2nd century. Satyr and Nymph. This sculpture group depicts a lover's quarrel between Satyr and the nymph, who seeks in vain to free herself from her insistent suitor. Both heads are depictions of the 17th century. The head of the Satyr is believed to be a work of young Bernini, probably inspired by the little Artir of the colossal group. Pan and Daphnis. The god Pan, a rustic deity, is here depicted while teaching the shepherd Daphnis to play a syrinx, the typical pastoral musical instrument made of reeds. Statue of Dadophorus. This work, extensively altered in the 17th century to restore its integrity, is largely the creation of Bolognese sculptor Alessandro Argardi, called to Rome in 1626 by the Cardinal Ludovico Ludwig to work on the restoration of this collection. Spiral column. The spiral column is shaped as a wine trunk with ivy shoots and wine leaves with tendrils twisted round. Head of Hera. This head, twice life size with a diadem, would have originally been inserted into a statue. It has been identified to the goddess Hera on the basis of its resemblance to other representations. Sarcophagus with a myth of Theodora. This relief decorated the front of large marble sarcophagus, of which only the left corner is preserved. The scene depicts a group of veiled women turning towards the right, accompanied by a girl who looks towards the left. In the lower part of the sarcophagus, to the right of the girl, is a statue of Priapus, the Roman god of virginity. Cupid and Psyche. This pair could be considered an original created in the 17th century restorer Ippolito Brizzo, who worked on the restoration of the collection from the 1621 to 1624. Inspired by the famous Hellenistic sculpture group of Cupid and Psyche, the sculptor fashioned his own version by assembling together various fragments of the ancient marble statue. Juno Ludovici. This head, known in the past as Hera or Juno, was once part of a colossal statue, 3 times normal size. The female portrait head, crowned with a diadem, a symbol of royalty and sanctity in the model of the hera, was reproduced in 16th centuries. Orestes and Euchra. The scene takes place between two figures, a woman embracing. The sculpture group depicts Agamemnon's children, Orestes and Astra, in front of their father's tomb. The interpretation of first was suggested by Wikiman in 18th century and actually accepted for a similar farewell scene. Statue of Ares. The sculpture portrays a god of war as a nude with well-developed muscles, seated on a rock in a resting position, an iconographical reference to the Phidian phrase from the Parthenon. Statue of Asclepius. The model of which the statue is Asclepius is inspired is well known from the numerous specimens. Statue of Dionysus with a pencil. The sculpture, heavily restored during the 17th century, combined the head of Dionysus from the end of 2nd century with a useful torso from the 1st century. The restorer added the right arm and part of the legs, creating an upward motion to position the arm. Statue of Pharaoh. The pharaoh striding forward, his arm at his sides, wearing a royal head, decorated in the front with a Uranus and a skirt. Dated to the 3rd BC by the characteristic treatment as the details. Statue of Appius Bull. The statue represents a secret bull, Appius, originally worshipped at Memphis, an ancient Egyptian capital, and often associated with the cult of Isis in the Ptolemaic and Roman periods. Bust of Septimius Severus, perhaps from the Janiculum sanctuary in the museum before 1870. This portrait of Emperor Septimius Severus belonged to the series of official portraits of the Serapis type, in which the iconography of the emperor is associated with that of Alexandrian god. Heads of a Philosopher. This sculpture has been interpreted as a modern reworking of ancient marble and portraits of a man with facial features resemblant of well-known portraits of ancient philosophers. Male portrait. The youthful face with a broad forehead and elongated eyes has trace of a diadem on the forehead, like an image of the Herculenistic rulers. Composite capital with figures. The capital represents rich fugitive decoration with four-winged female figures, represented in the so-called kneeling race, and the four erotics holding basket grips. Pallavicini Rospigolosi frescoes. Three of the panels pottery. Statue of a boxer. Naked and very young, the athlete is identified by his fighting equipment in the lizard stripes. Statue of Meleager. The work is one of the group of replicas based on the statue of Meleager attributed to Scopas or his followers. The bust of a modest Aphrodite. The bust was resembled in modern times from the remains of ancient statue. The face is being reconstructed as a front part of the hair.